Page 156, Minuet in G. With this lesson, they're introducing you to the key signature of G major. G major has one sharp. If you just learn the scale, you don't have to worry about it. You just play the notes in the scale, which means you're going to play F sharps automatically. Now, something I want to point out is this particular piece, a lot of people say Bach wrote this because it's in one of his books. Bach did not actually write this. It's got the name of the composer there, but it was in one of Bach's books. So it's interesting that just keep in mind Bach did not actually write this piece. Now, let's go through the routine for learning a piece of music because we got some tricky stuff in this one. It's about a page and a half long, treble, bass, clef. Now we have one sharp in the key signature. Now you can see the key signature because it's not empty. Before it's always been empty. Now, see, they got to move the time signature over a little bit because now they got to have room for a sharp. And if you look at those sharps and where they are in the staves, you'll find if a note were on that line or space or wherever it is, in this case, they're both Fs. In the top staff, that top line is an F. So that's where the sharp is. But it's not just saying those Fs are sharp, it's saying any F, anywhere is sharped in that staff. And the bottom line, you already know that's an F, I hope, because of the F clef is there. And that's again, that's just telling you that's where they go. The first sharp in a key signature is always F. For the exceptions on that, I'm not interested. Don't bother with it. You can go with this. First sharp is always going to be an F. The reason is because as we continue to add sharps, blah, 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 it can have 7 of them. You don't have to worry about what they are. You'll just know because they're always in the same order. And the first one is an F. But in my opinion, the best way to do this is to learn the scale. Just know you're playing in the key of G major. If you see one sharp in this key signature for now, it's just automatically going to be G major. We'll change that a little later. Now, 3/4 time, it's a minuet. Minuets are general, they're like waltzes. They're similar to waltzes. They're 3/4 time. Take it one hand at a time, make sure we understand what the hands are doing, and I always connect the notes at first. So, right hand, you're here, here. Now, I don't need these other finger numbers in that line. Make sure you're reading the notes here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. And then for the measure 3, you see the numbers at the beginning of the lines in the little boxes above the staff? Those are measure numbers. So I can refer to measure numbers here. And measure 3, you see it, first measure, second line. Then my third finger here. Well, that's a stretch. I'd rather not. I mean, you can if you want to. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't want to have to stretch that far. So I'm just going to use a different finger. What we need is thumb on the C for the 8th note. Now, what finger we use for the E, whatever. But I want thumb on that one. So if I go here, I can go 5 and then thumb. That works. Or I can reach up and do 4 and thumb. It's just 3 is a stretch. So either 4 or 5, I don't know how big your hands are. So I'm going to do 4 and then thumb. Don't forget the F sharp, and then the octave, and then the class here. The measure 6, you're here, cross over. You're not moving the hands, you're just crossing over for one note. See, we had 6 notes to cover here, and we only have 5 fingers, and this is one of the ways we do it. We just cross over for one note. And the measure 9 is like at the beginning again, which means at measure, 11? Here, instead of that, I'm going to use 4 or 5, whichever. However, I fingered measure 3, I'm going to finger measure 11 the same way. And then the rest of it's the same. So basically, the piece is really only like 3 lines long. You're just playing them twice. Well, that's handy for learning the music. Left hand, we got the chords. G chord. We'll learn the primary chords of G major over the next few lessons. That's G chord because it's built on G, the first step of G. It's a 1 chord in the key of G. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See, the left hand is not moving around, so we're staying right in here. So put the hands together and you have here, and then here, these, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. The left hand is tied there for 2 measures. On measures 7 and 8 it's tied. And then you do the whole mess again. So you put the hands together and then go back over it slowly and carefully and work out the hesitations. Steady beat. And except for when you have to stretch out and move like that, you should be able to look at the music, not the keyboard. You look down at the keyboard only when you need to when you're moving around. Well, it's like in the last 2 measures. Here, to come over one note, I shouldn't have to look at the keyboard for that eventually. You want to feel that. So once you have the notes and the fingerings and all that worked out, and the rhythms, then I'll put in the articulation. Here, they measure 2, staccato, hinge at the wrist. They say light thumb. I'll come back to light thumb later. Just right now, just don't play it heavy is all. This is how you can get away with using the 3rd finger, because the staccato, you got time to move up. But when I first learn a piece of music, I connect everything because I want a fingering that works that way. It's usually a more solid fingering. So I'm still going to use 4th finger or 5th finger here on measure 3. So it's point out a little something in the music. So we're looking at these little details. They can make a big difference later on. Right now it might not, but let's pay attention to them. On the 2nd measure, that slur line goes all the way to the 2nd beat. So you're connecting those. But in the 4th measure, it does not. It ends on the G. There. And I think the reason is because this, you might not be able to reach an octave yet. If you have really little hands, you may not do that. But technically, the slur line should have gone all the way to the 2nd beat there in measure 4. Here. Connect that. There's no reason not to, unless you have little hands and you can't. So if you can, connect that here. And then going on. Lift up. And this left hand, I'm connecting it as best I can all the way through. Now at measure 8, you're finishing a phrase, and then both hands can lift up, like taking a breath. Now once you have the articulation sort of under control, we'll think about the dynamics. It goes to the melody, which is the right hand in here. P is piano for soft, whatever you think soft is. Not super soft, just soft. The left hand is super soft. The left hand is very light, and the right hand is just light. Takes time, but again, this sort of thing you can practice with the scales. Practice playing a scale with one hand sort of light, and the other hand very light at the same time. And then switch it. Make the left hand a little heavier than the right. You practice these things with the scales. When you run into in the music, you just do it. So we're soft. In the measure 3, go up to moderately soft. We're going to go up to moderately loud. Up to moderately loud. So they tell you in measure 5 you're moderately loud, but you're actually moderately loud in measure 4. So, and you're staying there. Measure 8, you get the hairpin to come down a little bit, and then it'll die away on its own, sort of. And now you're soft again for measure 9. And you do the same dynamics you did before. Measure 15, you're moderately loud here. Retardando, and it gets softer. You're coming back down to soft. And the left hand is very soft. And the retard on those, slow down a little bit. Speed. 1, gentle. 1, 1, 2, 3. Somewhere in the middle. Make sure in the last measure, the dotted half note, hold it down for 3 counts and lift up on the next beat. Don't cut it short just because it's at the end, I'm done. Okay, no, you're not done until the 3 beats are over. And a full 3 beats too is 1, 2, 3, up. There. Because if you go 1, 2, 3, well, that's only 2 counts. So you gotta hold it down through beat 3. And then lift up. And the play with me is I say off because there is no next beat. Otherwise it'd be 1, 2, 3, 1. But there's no 1, so I say off. At the bottom of page 157, they're telling you to point out places where the leading tone moves up to the tonic. What? Well, all right, let's talk about that. A little bit of music theory. It's kind of important, especially if you want to get into improvising, because you can use this. So what's a leading tone and what's a tonic? We've talked about tonic before. I don't know if you remember or not. We're in the key of G major, so I'm going to talk G major here. The tonic of any key is the first step or the first note, the root note. In G major, it's a G. In C major, it's a C. It's the name of the key. That's the tonic. The tonic note in here, throughout here, is a G. Wherever the G is, doesn't matter. If it's a G, it's a tonic in G major. Well, the leading tone is the 7th step. Remember, all the notes in a scale are numbered 1 through 7. Remember C major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, G major, it's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, okay. The leading tone is the 7th step. It leads into something. It just doesn't sit there by itself. Well, it does today, but usually it doesn't. So the leading tone going into the tonic, it leads into it. To here. It's that feeling of to here. They're asking you to find out where F sharp goes to G, is basically what it is. So it's right there, F sharp. That's leading tone into the tonic, because we're in the key of G. There, on measure 7. F sharp to G, leading tone into the tonic. Yeah, that's what they're after here. Just know what they are, because as I said, when you're improvising, if you happen to be using a leading tone, try and follow it with the tonic in many cases. I mean, not always. Sometimes you're going down, so you're going away from it. But a lot of times it will lead into it. Take the chords, C major here. C major, the primary chords. Well, the 5-7 chord. The bottom note we're using here is the B. That's the leading tone in C major, B to C. And it just sounds a G7 to C. We're doing that. That sort of thing. Yeah, you get a lot in music. So you go ahead and learn this. Then come back and let's play it together slowly to check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do the louds and softs. I'm just going to do the note. I'll do the staccatos. But otherwise, we're just checking notes and rhythms. I'll give us 3 counts. 1, ready, go. And 2, 3. 2, 3, off.